Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for this episode 4 on Bloomfield with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, as you can see, it is the next day, the 1st of March, a beautiful spring day here. And as you may recall, we were going to head down to Ben's this morning and see what we can do about the drive chain for the potato harvester. And I also want to pick up some fuel to have here on the farm. But before we do that, there's something we need to talk about here for a minute. So if we run down here and look at the neighbor's field, we can see it is planted with canola. Well, the, on the 1st of March in Alberta, I can pretty much guarantee there is no canola planted. We have to live with the crop calendar that's in game. There's nothing we can do about that. It is about, I would say, at least 6 weeks advance from what you would typically see in Alberta. Here in the area where I am in, it is just coming up to mid-May, and the farmers are in the field seeding, about 3 weeks ago, or right around the end of April. In March, there was still snow on the ground around here, so but we have to live with that crop calendar, and it may be appropriate for New Brunswick, where this map is based. They are a coastal province. They wouldn't, they don't get as big a deep freeze. They do get a fair bit of snow though. So, but once that snow dries up, or that moisture dries up, they should be good to go. So I didn't look in to see if that's accurate for them or not, but it may be, but not accurate for us. But we have to live by it. So long story short there, it's go time around here. So I'm going to get hooked up and head down towards the store, and I'll meet you there. So we'll see you in a minute. Well, we're just about to the shop, but look what I see sitting on the side of the road here. Wow, that's some machine. Let's pull over to the gas station and have a look. I'm sure they won't mind. Wow, that is some machine. And I think that's one of those new Versatiles. Yes, it is. Look at that. That's obviously being out in the field and doing some work. You know, Versatile was originally a Canadian brand made in Winnipeg, and it got acquired by New Holland. And then as part of the New Holland case merger thing that went on, it ended up getting sold off. I think it's actually Rosomash now owns the brand. But just recently they came back with the red and yellow colorings. But one time, Versatile was the prominent four-wheel drive articulated tractor manufacturer. Nice to see it back and in its original colors, because it got changed under New Holland to the Ford Blue for a while. That's a pretty sweet unit. We couldn't even park that on our field. But he's obviously been out doing some work. That's pretty nice. That's a long way in our future, I think, before we need a rig like that. Anyways, I'll carry on here down to Ben's. I better watch for traffic so I don't get clobbered here. And I'll let you know what he has to say about our little predicament. So, catch up with you in a minute. Well, that was an interesting conversation with Ben. When I told him the make and model of our potato harvester, he just raised his eyebrows and said he never heard of it. But he said to give him a couple days and he'd see what he could find for us. I also loaded up 1,500 liters of fuel. I guess you couldn't call it taxless fuel, but less tax fuel. But I forgot to mention about that Versatile. Although it may be owned by the same company owns Mash, it's still manufactured, as from what I understand, in Winnipeg. Uh, so still Canadian made. So thought I'd pass that little tidbit along. So I'm going to head back up to the farm and we'll check our field and see if it's time for us to start plowing. So I'll catch up with you back at the farm. I got the diesel unloaded into our tanks, so we've got a little bit of fuel here on the farm. I went up and checked our field, and I think it's still just a little too wet for us to be plowing today, but it is a pretty nice spring day and a little bit of a breeze, so I think we should be good to go tomorrow morning. So we'll let it dry for the rest of the day. It is afternoon already anyway. So I am going to clean out our tanker trailer here. It turns out my wife was correct. I really don't have anything better to do, but no need to pass that along to her. So I'm going to get that flushed out and ready to haul water again. And I think, seeing as it's a nice day and I've got some time on my hands, I'll drag these out of the shop and get them washed up as well. And I guess we're done with the potato planter, so I can actually put that away. So that's my plan for this afternoon. Nothing too exciting. So I will catch up with you guys tomorrow morning and we'll get up bright and early and get hooked up and we'll start our field work. So be a pretty exciting day. So we'll catch up with you then. Well, good morning. Um, this is a first. Murph up at the crack of dawn. But hey, we're ready to do some real farming. And I happen to notice that we have our first output from our greenhouse. And that led to another problem. I got to get that from there to there. Hadn't really thought about that. So, but that's a problem for another day. That can wait. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get the plow hooked up and I'll meet you up at the field. So exciting times. We'll see you there. Well, I was picking up the plow and reminded that these things are still sitting here. They still haven't been picked up yet. I'll have to give the realtor a call and remind him that they're still here. Got the plow on. The old girl is all filled up. She's ready to work. We'll get out to this field and start the field work in earnest. Find out if she'll pull this plow. Now, let's see where we gotta be lined up for this. Let's see. Over just a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Oh. Well, seems to be doing the job. There we go. It's official. We're farming. Now, normally I think you, or ideally you'd turn these plows over, and I actually have no idea the proper way to plow. I'll be perfectly honest. We're just going to go back and forth. It's probably not the right way to do things, but I think we need to be over a little bit more. I wonder if we go in the in-cab view here. Not too helpful. Looks like if we run our front tire right along the edge of the last furrow, it'll work pretty good. Suddenly this field doesn't look so small. This is going to take some time. The old Farmall seems to pull it along pretty well, and it actually runs a pretty good clip. I'm surprised. Now let's just jump off there, because I see another problem I need to deal with. Rocks. Gonna have to do something about those. I might need to talk to TFS and see if he has any suggestions, because I'm pretty sure we don't want those. Try an in-cab view here and see how that works. Well, there we go. All done. But we do have a lot of rocks that I'd like to take care of before we try and plant anything in here. So I'll have to do something about that. But it went pretty good actually. See, just after 1 o'clock. I was done sooner than I thought I would be when I first started. The field still looks pretty big, I should say, when you're sitting on the farm all. But the old girl did well. Just like TFS said, she had no trouble pulling that plow. So I'm going to go up to the farm yard and I'll get this cleaned up and stuff put away, and I'll see what I can find out about those rocks. So uh, stay tuned. We'll catch up with you in a little bit. Well, some time has passed since we were last together. I've spent most of that time on the phone. I talked to the realtor about that equipment, and basically he said that they're going to give final written notice to the purchaser. He has spoken to the previous farm owner, and if I don't hear back by the end of the month, consider it my equipment, and they will send the appropriate paperwork in the mail. I don't need to worry about it. So I'll have proof of ownership. So that's settled. So if it's still here 1st of April, it's ours. I also talked to Ben. Well, he actually called me. Um, just a reminder, 1 day in game is equivalent to about 3 or 4 days in real life, the way we have it set. And so it's been a few days, and he was unable to find the exact chain for us, but he said he's got something that will work. So he said if we come down there, he'll explain that to us. So we'll head down there shortly, because while I was talking to him, I also ordered a couple things that he had in stock. That's why our money's gone down. So I think that's the next step. We'll go down there, find out what the deal is with that chain, and we'll pick up our gear. So I'll see you down there. Catch up with you in a second. Well, I was just about to the shop here, and I see that big versatile is working in the field. So I thought we'd stop and just watch him for a minute. After having just worked my field with that Farmall, I have an even greater appreciation for a outfit like that. Looks even more impressive when it's working than when it's sitting still. Pretty sweet. Well, this isn't getting any of our work done, so I'll head over to the shop and let's take a look at what I purchased. I'll see you there. So this is what I purchased. I bought 2,000 kgs of seed potatoes, and I bought a pallet fork to move our pallets around up at the our little production area. So that's why our money is down. That pallet fork solves one problem. Now Ben's supposed to have an answer for us regarding that chain, so let's see if that solves another problem. Well, our money went down again. This time, this time to Ben, not to TFS, for a bit of a change. Anyways, the deal with the chain is he found out that that planter, or harvester, I should say, looks like it came from Poland. How it got here, who knows? So he couldn't find the exact parts, but what he did is take some measurements on the chain, and it turns out he found a baler chain, although it's a bit longer. He said should work. It just looks like the rollers might be slightly oversized. From the measurements he took, he said it looked like less than a thou, maybe about a half a thou oversized. He said it could have been just because of wear on the other chain, they were misshapen, but it's as close as he could get. So we got the chain, some repair links, he suggested that the sprockets are probably worn enough that it'll work just fine. So it's our best solution, so we'll give it a try. So I will get these pallet forks and seed potatoes loaded up, and I'll meet you back home at the farm. See you there. Well, we're back up here at the farm. I have the pallet jack unloaded. I just left the potatoes on the truck for a couple of reasons. The biggest one is they're too heavy. I can't get them off. I have nothing here to lift them off with. But also, I was hoping to kind of use the truck as a seed tender. Hopefully, I can fill the seeder up right off the back of the truck. So we'll see how that goes. But let's head over here to our pallet jack. This is a pretty handy little mod. Came out just in time for us. It just came out, I think it was yesterday. That all the way down appears to be. Jack it up. It is a little jittery. Might need an update maybe. And there we go. Like I said, that mod came out just in time. So let's just park this up over here. So that solves that problem. Well, I'm going to pass you over to the past Farmer Murphy, and he's going to explain what it took to make that happen, because it wasn't quite as straightforward as it looked. And just if you're trying to use that mod, I wanted to make sure you understood that what I had to do to get that done. So over to the past Farmer Murphy. Well, thank you, future Farmer Murphy. I thought I'd better explain that there was a little bit behind making that look as seamless as I hope it did, or as I hope future Farmer Murphy made it look anyway. There's a couple things you need to know. First of all, this pallet jack mod just came out the other day, and it did come with some modified pallets as well, and that's kind of key because they will not pick up standard pallets. I tried several of them. Now there's two versions of this pallet jack, the small one here and the larger one. And the issue is there seems to be a collision on the wheels that catches either here on the small one if you go in from this end, or on this lip if you use the larger one. And in the case of the larger one, it seems to happen even on the modded pallets that came with it. The few I tried. I didn't try them all, but I did try a couple, and I was having issues with that. So what I had to do, this is from the pallet jack mod. It's just a refillable pallet that I put here, and I am using the liftable pallet mod. So I took the sugar beet pallet that was here just by hand, lifted it over, and filled this pallet up so that the future Farmer Murphy should be able to jump on the pallet jack and have it slide under no problem. But like I said, I still found that coming in from the end here is what worked the best. I was still having some issues even with this pallet down at the shop coming in this way. Now, to be fair, it was an empty pallet. Maybe it would work full, but I didn't bother trying that. So that's what I did. Purchased the refillable pallet that came with the pallet jack mod and filled it up with my sugar beets so I could use this pallet jack to move it. Now, when you'll see, or you will have seen, it's get a little bit jittery. So there may be an update coming and that may address some of those issues. But for the time being, until I get another piece of gear or there's an update, I actually am just going to carry those over by hand and throw them in the sell point there. And I won't bother showing it on camera until we get another piece of gear, like I said, or there's an update. So back over to future Farmer Murphy. Well, seeing that we have sugar beets in there, we might as well get that production going. Oh, that shouldn't have been on. That was costing us a little money. So we'll get a little sugar, and that'll put a little money back in the coffers, and it'll help that we turned off that production, was taking a little money out. So while I was down at the shop, I asked Ben about rock pickers. He did have some new ones, nothing used, but we didn't have the money nor the horsepower to pull any of what he had to offer. So I called up TFS to see if he had any suggestions, and he did have one. He said, "Get a good pair of gloves." So I guess, sorry about the dog. Someone dared drive down our back alley. How dare they? Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, so it looks like we're going to be picking them by hand, and I guess that's what most farmers in the area do with their rocks. So we'll get the old Farmall hooked onto the trailer, and we'll head out there. But we'll do that job tomorrow morning. I think what we'll do to finish off today is we will get the chain replaced on this and get it pulled out of the shop so it's not in here anymore. But I think that's where we'll call this episode. We'll pick it up with the rock picking tomorrow morning, I guess. So if you're still with me, really appreciate you watching. If you found it informative or entertaining in any ways, I encourage you to hit that like and subscribe button. That too would be appreciated. And if you want to see when other content like this lands, hit that old notification bell. But for this episode, until next time, Farmer Murphy signing off.